Yeah. K-Rino Radio. K-Rino Radio. Let's tell them about it. You're listening to K-Rino Radio on 90.1. Who is he? What is he? What does he do? Where is he from? H-Town, where the independent grind was invented. Understand, I'm the property owner, you just a tenant. KPFT is the station and location for the really special guests. Good knowledge and information for the coldest on the air. We making a strong case. If you scared of the truth, then you in the wrong place. Every Friday, 11 o'clock p.m. Central. We cooking the game, serving it up, feeding your mental. You can even call in, dial 713, backdoor it with 526 KPFT. We ain't playing with them, we gon' tell it like it is, partner. Out of town, KPFT.org, yeah, we got ya. How'd I get on the airways? I know y'all like, wow, K-Rino Radio, homie, starting right about now. Yeah, we got ya. How'd I get on the airways? I know y'all like, wow, K-Rino Radio, homie, starting right about now.
So the topic that I came up with is going to be called tonight, When Life Gets in the Way. And what that means is sometimes we can be just coasting along, man. You're doing pretty good. Black Cat just walked into the building. You're doing pretty good, man. Your financial situation is good. Your life, your sudden, something, you run into a roadblock. You run into a situation that you did not expect to hit you, and it becomes something that you have to basically stop your whole life in order to try to rectify. It could be a health situation. It could be a loss of a job. It could be the loss of a family member or a loved one that catches you off guard, and you have to deal with it from a mental and emotional standpoint, and sometimes a financial standpoint. It could be problems in your relationship. It could be problems with your children. All of these things fall under the category of a trial. And what I wanted to do is to kind of lay a base, because a lot of people view trials differently. They view them as things that are just by chance. They view them as situations that other people intentionally set out to impose upon them. And I wanted to take it to scripture for a minute. Not like I'm no preacher, no pastor, nothing like that, but it is what it is. And even if you are a person who doesn't consider yourself to be religious or even spiritual, you would still be a fool to not agree and understand principles that shouldn't have labels attached to them. So I laid out a couple from the Bible, and I laid out a couple from the Quran that speak about trials and the connection that trials have in relation to God himself as it relates to us. And there was one that was in Romans 5:3 that says, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulations worketh patience. And that was a strong one, because it's saying we glory in the tribulations, and that's speaking to a mindset of an individual who's going through the trial, knowing that, okay, you know what, God may have ordained this struggle for me, so I'm going to basically still rejoice and try to hold my happiness in it and be patient as I work my way through it, knowing that the Most High is going to deliver me on the other side of this trial. That's speaking about a person who has that kind of faith and belief in that higher power, not someone who may only feel the happiness and the joy of the Creator and all his blessings when things are going good. You feel what I'm saying? So that's just one scripture, but I also wanted to balance it off with the Quran as well, because the Quran says, it says, do men think that they will be left alone saying they believe and not be tried? In other words, okay, same principle. You running around here, life is good. Hey, I believe in God. You saying Allahu Akbar. You saying glory be to God. Anything that you may say, but life is good at the time, so you coasting along. God is saying, okay, that's cool, but don't think that I'm not going to try you to test that belief that you claim that you have. So that's just the base I kind of wanted to lay in terms of the trials. There's another verse in the Quran where it says, and we shall certainly try you with something of fear and hunger and loss of property and lives and fruits, and give good news to the patient. So now you got the Bible talking about patience, and you got the Quran talking about patience. Long story short, at the end of the day, when you start to go through your struggle and your trial, which everybody that's in this room, everybody that's listening to my voice right now can testify that they have gone through or are presently going through some kind of trial right now, you have to still remain strong through that trial, and you have to still have the mindset that, okay, like we say, like the new saying is now, Murder, God got me. You know, that's what everybody's saying, God got me, God got me. Okay, well, if God got you, when that struggle hit, you better still have maintain that mind frame that God got me, instead of having the opposing view, looking at yourself as a victim.
Yeah, a lot of them run from the struggle, though. Once the heat kicks in, a lot of them put that crawfish effects in and start backing up.
Yeah, and that's true, and it's sad because any trial that you go through, if you have the mind frame to just buckle up and just fight through it, any individual that has ever made it to the other side of a rough trial can always tell you how it made them better. And say, what don't kill you make you stronger.
Yeah.
And so you go through that fire, and everybody know that fire purifies. So I was thinking about a scenario where there's a football player a few years back, and he put a tweet up one time because he had a football game. This is NFL. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm glad I wouldn't put him on blast, no way. But it was a crucial game, fourth quarter, crunch time situation. The quarterback throws the pass to him. He wide open in the end zone. Ball hit him right in the hands, and he drops the pass, and they lose the game, right? Jumps right on Twitter and says, God, I do everything you ask me to do. I do all the stuff you ask me to do. How could you do me like this? And so he blamed God for him dropping the pass and his team losing the game. Now, the brother didn't quite understand. You know, he didn't quite understand. Look, man, you dropped that pass. You can't blame that on the creator because you dropped that pass. But on the same token, the point I'm making is that when you're going through your trial, don't do your best to not play victim. That's all I'm at. Don't play the victim role when you're going through the trial. Do the best you can to embrace the challenge of it in terms of saying, okay, you know what? This is what I'm going through right now. Let me deal with it and seek the assistance through patience and prayer, and not just pray and lay, but pray and get up and try to work your way out of the situation. Once again, we talking about trials, man, when life gets in the way. If y'all want to call in and participate in the conversation, the number is 713-526 KPFT. I think we got a caller on already. Let's get it popping if we got a call on right now. Caller, is she gone?
Yeah, she out of there.
Okay, that's what's up. We'll call back
the call was from Charlene Dunlap. It was a prison inmate. Shout out to her son, Kerry.
Oh, okay, it's all good. It's all good. There might have been some remnant left over from the prison show, but it's all love. Shout out to your son, Miss Charlene. Look, we carry over because we shout out to all our friends and loved ones that are on lock as well, because that's part of the trial. That's a trial in itself also.
Yeah.
That we'll get into later, because when someone's in prison, of course they're going through a trial, but their loved ones on the outside are going through a trial as well, because they stressing out
right.
and feeling for them.
Before we go too far, and I got to give my boy a wash out for how you should say his recovery going through. He might be at home tomorrow. The doctor been teaching him how to walk again, getting his breathing himself together, and they probably let him go home tomorrow from that open heart surgery he had.
Well, man, that's a strong dude, man.
All praises to
and we talking about trials, and we shouted our watch a couple of weeks ago, and that's our brother who's been dealing with heart problems for some years now, and he just had a major heart surgery.
Real.
And he's in the recovery phases right now, so he's definitely going through a serious health challenge right now. But that's great news that Murder just delivered to us on his behalf. That he Wash a strong dude, man. If y'all know him, man, that's just who he is, man.
Yeah, but you know, the learning process of it, sometimes you just feel like you just want to tap out, man, when you're just going through that battle for so many years. You know, I talked to him many times. He's like, man, I think I'm done. And I was like, look, first, you know, by being a parent and with a young kid, I told him, man, you know, you got to set the whole goals for your kids first. So you just can't just go out without give your kid a sense of direction of what life's going to be without you.
Yeah, I mean, and then, too, just for anybody else who may be experiencing something similar, hey, man, this ride that we on right now, you just get one token, bro. So you have to fight to maintain this life as hard as you can. As hard as you can, no matter what situation that you're in, because, again, we're talking about trials, and we're talking about the redeeming power of a creator who can remove you and fix you in any situation that you're in. So it's understandable, and it's easy for us on the outside looking in and say, man, you got to keep fighting. That's easy to say. But if you're the one who's been going to the hospital, going through all these situations, these setbacks over and over again, and you're like, yeah, that's easy for you to say. But, you know, it's for all of us to advise each other to try to have that strength and strengthen each other for a time when they may not be able to be strong on their own. And I mean, Kermit, if you want to add anything to that, brother, you more than welcome, man. We talking about trials today.
Yeah, I had one of my cousins, man. Shout out to Curtis. He just got through dealing with an open heart surgery. He had actually a transplant.
Right.
Yeah, and his heart was going. He was dealing with he was only dealing with. I think his heart was working at 8%.
Wow.
For like about a couple of months. And once he done the transplant and it was successful, now is when it really begins, because he got a bunch of medicine he got to take to make sure after you put the heart in, you know, that's a trial in itself to get it working and have it working the right way. So prayers goes out to your homie, man, for that one.
No doubt.
So we dealing with that now. So I know exactly how that is.
And prayers goes out to your kinfolk too, man, because, you know, something like that, man, you transplant, anytime you take organs from one individual and put them to the other, those organs have to acclimate themselves to the new body that they're in. The body has to acclimate. It's a process, man. So it is what it is.
I mean, I want to keep cutting short. This is the last one, but
no, go ahead, Murder. It's all good.
You know, Wash is like my little brother, man. Right. So you know, that's just the first phase, because they still looking for him a heart.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They just put a balloon in his heart, and that's just, you know, that's going under the knife again. That's tragic.
And think about him going through that process, but also he got a wife.
Right. Oh, man.
He got a child.
He got a strong one.
He has other family members who care about him, that have concerns for him, and friends that pray for him at a time where he's not able to possibly pray for himself. When you go under, when they put you under and put you under that medication, and they cutting you open, you out of there, you know. So at the end of the day, man, you know, anybody who has family members that may be going through health challenges of those natures, we praying for y'all. And you know, feel free to share your stories and step it up, man. I wanted to talk about something that I went through about a week and a half ago. I was asked to be one of the speakers at Addicts Middle School in South Park about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And it was me, it was my homie Barry the Legend, and another brother that was asked to come out by Sister Trey Muhammad, to come to Addicts Middle School. So we are speaking in front of a room full of young brothers, anywhere in between the ages of, I want to say 11 to maybe 13. And that's not the first time I ever spoke. I've spoken at schools a bunch of times, man, and the scenarios are always different, but still kind of the same. You know, you speak to them, they listen, and then you kind of just going on about your business. But this particular day, she placed us in a classroom with about 25 young men, all men, no females in the room. It was just men talking to men. And in the beginning, you got the normal playfulness, cracking jokes, you know, acting silly and all that, like we all did when we was in school. But what Sister Trey did, she put a couple of questions up on the chalkboard that she wanted us to ask each individual student. And one of the first question was, who am I? And the second question was, what have I survived? And that was an interesting question because in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, you know, you got these 11, 12, 13-year-old young dudes, like, what have I survived? So I have to be honest, I kind of underestimated that question as it relates to cats being that young. Because I'm like, man, these are young. But, man, when they stood up to start individually telling their stories and just telling, well, who I am, who am I, and what have I survived, man, I saw something that I never saw before, you know, and it touched me and really kind of messed my head up because the first couple of youngsters, they just stood up, yeah, my name is whatever, and that was it. By the time we got to that third young man, before he could even get his name out, he crying like a baby, right? Just crying like a baby. And I'm like, man. And so we waited, and he could never get a word out. That's how bad he was crying, because that what have I survived question was weighing on his mind so strong that he wasn't even able to form words because so much emotion was coming up out of him. So I said, okay, well, hold on, we'll get back to you. And we kept going around a circle. And as we was going around a circle, I pulled him to the side and say, hey, man, it's all right. Just take your time. And whenever you're ready to speak, if you want to speak at all, we'll give you the floor. So as they're going around a circle, you would hear other young brothers like, yeah, my name is Daryl, and I survived getting shot at. And I'm like, man, 13 years old, what you mean got shot at? The next guy, man, I'm such and such, and I survived my mother being on drugs, you know. So now you're starting to see this pattern. These same young boys who was cracking jokes and playing and giggling and acting silly, you starting to hear these real life problems coming out of these young men's mouth that on the surface you would never expect that these brothers was going through the things they're going through. So by halfway around the room, another brother stands up. He starts crying. I'm like, man. Couldn't even get the words out, man. He stood up and couldn't even get the word. Had to do the same thing. Okay, well, brother, you just sit down and get yourself together. And 4 or 5 more brothers later, this one particular young man who met us at the front part when we were being checked into the school, he was with Sister Trey assisting her. And he was real articulate, real smart, and real helpful, helping us, telling us where to go, just a leader.
All right.
So he stands up and he starts crying. And he says his name, and he said he survived his father dying at 6 years old, when he was 6 years old, right? So when he got to the part about his father dying, he couldn't go on anymore, and he just put his hands over his face and just started crying, and he just left out the room. So by this point, I'm looking like, man, it made me understand that our children, man, they going through it, man. They dealing with some serious pain out here that we take for granted because we have that mind state that, oh man, these just a little young. They not old enough to have experienced any type of drama or trauma in their life. They too young.
And it's a lot under the surface.
It's a lot, man. I walked outside and I'm saying, brother, you all right? You all right? You know, I'm trying to talk to him. So he's talking about his dad. I'm trying to comfort him on that level. And in the midst of doing that, I asked him, well, you know, how's your mom? Couldn't even tell me where his mama was. I said, well, how were you coming to school? And he said, I'm in CPS custody right now. So but him saying that, it messed me up. But I also looked at it from a different angle. So I'm like, man, this brother is strong.
Yeah.
Because he's still coming to school. And like I say, he was the one who was assisting the teacher in getting everything organized. So but you would have never knew what he was going through just in his normal actions until that question kind of cracked that shell and made all of these young brothers start to open up and man, I mean, all three of us that spoke that day, man, we was like floored behind it because it made us realize that we got a lot of work to do, man. We got a lot of work to do out here in these streets with our youth, and we got to start really, really grabbing these brothers by the reins, man, and say, look, what do y'all need? Hey, man, we need to get a group of youngsters together and take them here, take them there, do things with them. We can't be the ones that just pass by where we see them in the streets or not give them a word of advice, or even when they doing wrong, be afraid to correct them. Because, man, I've seen it for what it is, man. If you going through this at 11, 12, and 13, you haven't even got into true adulthood yet. So imagine when high school, when grown folks' problems kick in on top of that. And you still holding all of that residual pain from all the way back from a youth, man. You know, and the two brothers that started crying that never, ever even said what their situation was, I'm still wondering what their trial was.
Wow. Because
they never could get it out. So that's scary, man. That's scary. But we talking about trials today and when life gets in the way, man. So once again, if y'all want to call in, it's 713-526-KPFT. We'll keep it going, man.
And they was just forthcoming with all that as soon as you asked the question?
Well, yeah.
Or did you had to break the ice a little bit?
It took a while because, man, you know how it is when in school. You know,
Okay.
I was that same dude. We acting silly, giggling, ranking on each other and all that. You know, you got to calm them down. But it made me know that's a shell.
Yeah.
That's a defense mechanism when you're doing that. You masking pain. Yeah. When you playing around and laugh, because some of the main ones that was laughing and giggling and playing, we cracked their shell and found out some things that was going on with them. So it's like, okay, that's a pain blocking mechanism. That's not really what he is. He's just doing that to cover up.
It's a mask.
We had to mask what he's actually, really going through, man. When the sister called in, I guess she was calling in for the previous show, and wanted to give a shout out to her loved one that's incarcerated. I touched on that for a minute. That's another form of trials that people go through, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows somebody that's locked up.
Exactly.
Everybody have been through that scenario, and some people have actually been on the inside of those walls. And I want to shout out to everybody who might be listening, that's on lock right now, man, and just tell y'all that y'all are going through a trial right now. Even if they say you're never getting out of there, it's still a trial, and you still got plenty of life left to live for yourself if you view it from that perspective, man. Your life is not over, because there are some people who have done more behind those walls for the world than some people that are doing that's out here free every day. Yeah. Plain and simple. So, you have parents that had children that are locked up, and it's a struggle, because it's a struggle to deal with the fact that your child is not with you every day. I don't care when I say child. It doesn't matter if you 25, 30 years old.
It's always somebody's baby.
Always somebody's baby. Plus mixed in with the fact that it's a financial trial, because you got to keep money on their books.
Yep.
You spend money when you go visit them. If you're fighting for them through appeal lawyers and things, all of these things become now financial situations that you have to deal with. mixed in with the fact that you're still concerned about your loved one who's been thrusted in a situation, whether unjustly or whether self-inflicted, thrusted into a situation where like you in the jungle now.
Yeah.
You in the jungle now. It had to be a hell of a thing for your first time to be heading to the penitentiary for the first time, and all you've ever heard your life was stories about what it's like in the pen, and now you in there. Just vision that.
Yeah.
So all of these things are stressful, man. All of these things are tough for the individual going through it, and for the family members and loved ones who are dealing with it and sticking by them. And one of the things I told those young guys that day too was, look, man, respect your mother, respect these little girls that you're going to school with right now, because one day they're going to be somebody's mother. They may be the mother of your child one day.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know how that scenario plays itself out. But respect your mother in particular, in general, but also in particular because when all is said and done and you done ran these streets and did all this dirt and you was a follower behind some fool that had you doing this or had you doing that, when all that smoke clears, your mama gonna be the one that's sending you letters. Your mama gonna be the one that's coming to see you, and she's gonna be the one that's putting money on your books and standing by you when life has gone on for those other guys that didn't get caught and that you didn't snitch on, and it is what it is, so Black Cat in the building, man. How you doing tonight, my brother?
Doing all right, my brother. I'm just had me kind of thinking back, with the conversation and the trials and things like that, man. And
I want you to speak on that because, we want to get it from all different perspectives, man. So if that's something you can add to that, go right ahead, big brother.
Yeah, our trials are lessons for us. Even trials of others are lessons for us. We learn from others' mistakes and as well as our own. And, dealing even with the incarceration thing. You have it is said in the scriptures that you ought to stay calm and patient through all periods of panic, no matter what assaults you, and that he gives us a way out or a comfort in those situations. So no matter what trials that you're experiencing in life or whatever hardships that you're experiencing, that there is some comfort. You will find comfort in it, if only you seek that comfort.
No doubt. Absolutely, man. And great points. One of the things you just said was that other people's trials being a lesson for you, or your trials being a lesson for other people, that comes into play when we are wise enough to be observant of what other people are going through and kind of put it in that framework of like, well, man, I'm seeing this. Why am I seeing this person going through this? What is that saying to me? I want to take it somewhere else, man, because you have people, you have trials, things that happen to people through no fault of their own.
Yes.
Then you have other situations that we bring on ourselves. Would you call the things that we bring on ourselves, would you refer to those as actually being trials, or that's just our own foolishness and stupidity?
Yeah, those are consequences.
Right.
Those are consequences of our errors.
Right. Right. Great point. Just cause and effect.
Yes.
Basically, like we.
Everything in God's creation has laws, man.
Yes, sir.
And when you violate those laws, then you're subject to the consequences of that.
Right. No question, man. Great points, man.
Do we got any tips that we can give some people when they're going through these trials to get through?
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff that you use.
I think every trial falls in its own category.
Okay.
So if you have trials that are falling in different categories, then those tips would have to be based around what category the trial is existing in. They say, well, you know what, these are marital problems, relationship problems. Then we would have to have something to lay out on that vein, in that vein, and that's kind of what I want to go into next is relationship problems. It's a lot of situations where people are just going through these struggles with their mate, with their spouse, or who's significant other, or whatever, and they dealing with some rough situations, man, and they're viewing it as a trial, because just say, for example, if you married to this person, then all of a sudden the marriage is not going as planned or as y'all wanted to, and now you reach a point of where y'all have mutually agreed to call it quits. Divorce, separation, whatever. Well, I'll use divorce in this particular case. Now all kinds of issues come into play now, because everything that y'all were as a unit. Right. So now we have to divide this unit and try to delegate what's going where, who keeps the children, who keeps the house, and these things are a great trial for a whole lot of people.
Yes.
So for those individuals who are going through relationship issues, what do we point to that in terms of saying, okay, is it a situation like Black Cat was saying, the consequence of poor choices made, we chose the wrong person? Or in some cases say, well, you know what, you can't say you chose the wrong person. Just say it was an individual, two individuals that had been married 32 years. Can we really say that they chose the wrong person?
No, they just changed. They changed, yeah.
So
they had a good run.
They went as far as they can go.
They had a good run. Now it's a walk.
There you go. Walk out there.
A walk away.
So it's so many dynamics to this whole thing. But also then on the flip side, okay, you got this real good woman. She's just the greatest woman in the world. Everybody sees, man, she goes out her way, bends over backwards, does everything that a woman is supposed to do for that particular man, but that man is not reciprocating those same actions back towards that woman, and he's mistreating her, taking advantage of her, and misusing that kindness.
Right. But check this out. That's reversed as it can be either way, the man or the woman. But if they doing all that as a disguise, how do you know that you said you picked the right person?
Yeah, because they could be doing that like from the beginning. They already know what their intentions are from the beginning, but you don't know.
Right. It's like a motive to I put this out there. I sat in a room full of women at the Attorney General's office, and for the first time in my life, I sat there, and I can tell you that every woman was in there. They didn't care if a man was sitting there or not. They just saw dollar signs. This guy works for Metro. He works for the chemical plant. I'm going to get him everything he get. I just met him the other night, and this happened, but he got a good job. So what is you leading to make say that I'm that good person, or I'm just going to sweep and make sure the floor clean until I get what I want?
Yeah, but who's truly at the root of that?
Right.
Yeah, because if you see the sister and she's like, okay, I'm in the Attorney General's office and I'm about to get this bread or whatever. The fact of the matter is just the existence of the Attorney General's office itself is the root. It's what puts them in. It what provides a place for individuals, male and female,
right,
to have that mentality to say, hey man, I'm finna pop her or him for every dime I can get. So it's a bigger enemy at the root of it that creates the situation. That's okay. I'm gonna build this entity that will allow couples to further go apart from each other and become greater enemies to each other based on money, and who suffers in the end? The child suffers,
and that ultimately breaks down the family
without a doubt.
Yeah, because I don't know too many men that wants to go in front of a white man to tell you how to handle your family business.
Without a doubt,
and you automatically come in at the back. You automatically are the person the one that's not doing the right thing.
And not only that, it's a network of a system where they're all feeding each other off of it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the state, look, the woman can say, "Nah, I'm good. I don't even want to do nothing."
And
the state will put pressure on them like
to do it. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's why I say,
me too.
Hey, I'm multiple.
At the root of it, it's not the women. It's the platform that was created itself.
I agree.
To give us that kind of fuel to kind of push that fire. But in this particular situation, the child, to me, is going to be the one who suffers and goes through the eventual trial, because if there's still feelings between the mama and the daddy, or somebody's bitter because somebody broke up with them, then that affects how they allow the other one to relate to their child. But we'll take a call right about now, man. Go ahead and link me in, and we'll take this caller right now. Caller, you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, who am I speaking with?
Yeah, this is DJ Propane out of Houston, Texas, man.
What's up, my brother? Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind, family?
Man, I just want to give a good shout out to Murder One and K-Rino, man, holding it down for SPC and the whole Houston, Texas, man.
Thank you, bro.
Shoot, man, they don't do nothing but show love and shows. Shoot, take pictures with everybody. They real humble, man. I just got to give a good shout out to them, man, for holding it down.
Appreciate you,
man.
All right, man. I'm out.
We appreciate you. Appreciate the love, man. Look, that sounded like a plug, but trust me, we didn't ask him to do that, man.
I don't know.
Shout out to DJ Propane, man. Thank you, man.
He in and out too.
Well, I mean, without a doubt, we appreciate that, because everything we talk about tonight, we're gonna tie it back in to this subject. And you know, for us as artists in this game, just being in this business is a trial in itself.
Yes, definitely.
No matter what aspect of the music business that you're in, and it's more of a trial when you are the one who's footing everything. You financing your own career. You're taking all of the risks.
Exactly. Yeah,
so for him speaking about murdering myself, and not just us, but any artists who kind of carry themselves the way we do as artists, look, hey man, we are appreciative of individuals who support us. We never take the mind frame like we doing y'all a favor to grace y'all with our presence. Y'all are doing us a favor to support our music, to come to our shows, and to call in to our radio.
Yeah, showing love like that.
Without a doubt.
That's the fuel to the fire.
And we're going to always give that love back. You said we had another one?
Got another one.
Okay, I'm ready. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. What's good?
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Who am I speaking to?
All right. Yeah, my name's Joe. I was listening to the part of the program where you guys were talking about, having relationship problems and having that trial. And I don't know, man, I just felt like calling in, actually last week, my wife and I were we're actually getting a divorce and whatnot. It's been pretty tough. It's been so far a pretty immense trial, I think, for both of us. But, you guys are just real encouraging. I just really appreciated everything you guys were saying. I think it's, I don't know, this is kind of like my thoughts on it. Like, I think it's important to know that, even though you couldn't make that person happy or vice versa, that, it doesn't mean that, like, you're inherently, like, a bad person or something,
Right.
No, it's definitely not over.
You can always make you can always make someone else happy as well. But, I really appreciate you guys,
Well, can I ask you a quick question real quick? Not to be too invasive. How long have y'all been married?
We're married for about 7 years.
How long did y'all know each other before y'all got married?
About a year.
So y'all been knowing each other 8 years. I mean, to be honest with you, man, I mean, y'all tried to make it work. You tried to make it work. What are some of the challenges that you're dealing with now in terms of, now that y'all have both kind of agreed that we're gonna break it off? What are some of the challenges that have presented themselves to you now? I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was kind of like what you were saying. How you're like a team. You're a unit, and now, you have to kind of be on your own. And I think, definitely financially, that's a big challenge. I just graduated from school, and I don't really have a job right now. So, I'm just kind of jumping from couch to couch and whatnot. But I think that, and I think it's also just, I think like after you're married for a long time, we both got married when we were like 18,
right?
And now it's kind of like trying to understand, I guess, like, and I'm only speaking for myself, for someone that got married young. It's just like trying to understand, like, I guess like who I am as a person, trying to, because I mean, this is the, this is the first time since I was an adult that I'm single, and it's just really weird, and it's trying to maybe untangle some of those knots that took place during the relationship, and I'm sure she's doing the same thing, and just trying to like understand who you are, and I know God's going to help me figure that out.
Man, well, we thank you so much for the call, and thank you for the insight, and that's why I asked how long y'all have been married. We appreciate it. Call back anytime too. He jumped in the game early.
Yeah.
At 18 years old, and so that was a decision, and sometimes people look at that as a bad decision to make because people say y'all so young, you haven't lived.
But it's not. Some people get in early and be there, for the rest of their lives together.
No, look, they lasted 7 years.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying that you get an award for lasting because marriage is supposed to be for a lifetime.
Yeah, but the way society is today, you know what I'm saying?
7 years is like a lifetime.
Hey, but you should ask him how many happy years out of that 7 he had.
Well, it was happy. It was happy at 18. Because I had a friend. She got married at that age, and they realized when you get to that 6 or 7 year, you didn't live no life yet. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff you miss. Not saying that you had to go through it, but after a while, you kind of desire to see what's next and what's out there.
That's sowing your raw. But you know what? But I think too, it's about the individuals, man.
Right.
Because you got people that are getting married at 40.
Yeah. It's what you know in your heart right then.
Second. Right. But you have other people. I'm gonna give you an example. And Murder know what I'm talking about. Maestro's son.
Yeah.
He got married to his wife when he was 20 years old.
Right.
And they were young. So they've been together for a grip now.
Right.
And they going strong. So I think it has to do with the individual, and sometimes, you just are blessed to be in a situation where you come across that person. It's like, that's her, or that's him.
Yeah,
I'm
that
good,
has that heart and that dedication.
and it
like
works.
That,
it's blessed. God had put His hand on it and led that person to you. And we talked about this on a previous show. We did a relationship show.
Yeah.
We don't really take the time to pray for the mate that we should have.
Most definitely.
And we make that mistake a lot. So we just go by, man, she fine.
Yeah, and settle.
Yeah.
Or you come out of a crash relationship and you're just settling for whatever.
Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. But we're going to keep it rolling on. We talked about some with health challenges. We talked about some relationship situation that can bring about trials. What about financial trials that come about at times where you coasting along, man, you doing good, you're making good money, you got a nice house, nice car, everything is popping, and all of a sudden, boom, you get
some people
laid
feel
off.
that don't happen. Some people be so confident in the money that they're making that they don't ever feel that they can go back to nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm going with it. Yeah. So if you are in a situation where financially you've been on top all this time, then all of a sudden something comes about that, as I quoted that verse from the Quran, that you would be tried with things of loss of property and money and et cetera. How do you deal with that? Because a lot of times, man, we get in over our heads financially when we doing kind of good.
Yep.
And what I mean by that, okay, man, you just got this new job and you already jumping into this big car note. Yeah. You already jumping into this big house. Right, and not, just like Black Cat said, not thinking about that, hey, I need to be kicking some of this back because this could end. We know that we are on a plantation. So any of these jobs that we have, these are not ours. Yeah. And at any time,
vanish.
owner of that plantation can snatch that blanket, that mattress out from under you, and you're on the hardwood floor. You have individuals who are homeless that can tell you some hell of a stories, man. That can tell you, man, like, man, 3 years ago I was living in a 2-story house. I was living out there, and you look at them like, well, how did you get to this point? But you also have people who have shared that same story that have bounced back, and that are sitting in nice homes. Now they can tell you, hey, man, you'll never believe this. 5 years ago, I was
under the bridge.
Right. So what's the formula to those who may be in that situation to get out of it, and the people who got out of it to prevent others from being in the situation?
Well, you can't be complacent for one, and you know the head of the ship is the God first.
No question.
You know, you got to keep them things in mind, because sometimes, you know, you'll see money, but then again you're like, I'm comfortable, and by the time you think you're comfortable, your bank deposit is getting smaller and smaller because you feel you're bringing in so much, but you're losing so much at the same time you're bringing in so much.
Yeah, you're living above your means, because we tend to match. If you was making X amount of dollars and you was living this way, then you get a raise. Instead of saying I'm gonna continue to live the way I was living, once my money go up, my lifestyle goes up at the same time, and we never have kicked anything back, and then we find ourselves in a position where we hit that brick wall where it's like that moment. Because the truth of the matter is, like, you remember Mad Bomber used to say, Mad Bomber was like, man, we used to ride down McGregor, and them people in those big old houses on South McGregor, and he was like, man, these people probably one missed paycheck away from being homeless.
One missed paycheck.
And in some cases it may not be true, but we would laugh about it because it's like, in a lot of cases it is true. A lot of us function right now every day in the society one missed paycheck away from being stuck like Chuck.
Yeah.
You know, just the reality of it, you know. So we have to start doing, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and pooling our resources, being wise with the little crumbs that we do get from the plantation, and trying to use that and parlay it into
gotta be smart,
our
man.
own freedom.
Put it back, man.
Yeah,
that come with education, though, to know what I need to do with this money. Because a lot of times, if you get a raise, that means now I can afford these rims, or now I can afford to get this candy paint, or these screens. Where you really should take a little bit of it and say, okay, now I can invest a little bit in something. Now I can take this and try to do something with this stock, or now I can really invest in my dream.
Right, live the same way that you was like you never got that raise.
Exactly.
Yeah, cause man, look, I can't speak for nobody in this room. I've never been homeless. I've never had to sleep outside, you know, thank God. But I've seen it so many times. I can only imagine the difficulty that those people go through on a daily basis. I wouldn't even be able to even
they
sleep.
Have multiple of trials going on.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep because I'm always be worried about what's going on around me. So that's the one of the most ultimate trials that you can be going, because a lot of these people are in no way, shape, and form wanting to be in that situation that they're in right now.
And those that you, like you were talking about, those that bounce back, you know, and what does it take to bounce back? And what it takes to bounce back is digging within yourself, you know what I mean, of those that have achieved already to re-tap into that, you know, your inner self and gain that strength and do what you were doing before in order, you know, to come back on top, whatever your top is.
Exactly. Because I was about to say, Black Cat, I've been where I slept in my car before for months. But that's been one of the most motivated I've ever been. Yeah. I mean, the motivation was ridiculous. It was
because you had to get out there and get it.
Well, and then too, see, but that speaks to the individual, the strength of the individual, because he said, when I was sleeping in my car, that was the most, because in his mind, he like, I got to get the hell out of this condition. But you have other people who may not have that kind of intestinal fortitude where they give up. It's like, so that's the difference. It's just different levels of strength that come into play. And then you got people who are going through the trial of being homeless, and they had children with them at the same time.
And that's hard.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah.
See, that's rough, man. That's rough because it's one thing. I always feel like if I was ever in that situation, I would find a way to feed me. But just imagine if you got to
others.
feed you and you maybe have 1, 2.
That means you're going without.
Right, or just it's just gonna be that much tougher for us all to get some.
Yeah,
Right.
most likely, you're gonna go without to make sure. You may not go too long, but you're gonna go without to make sure that whoever's with you or your child or whatever is gonna eat, man.
Right. Well, let me ask you this in terms of as we winding down, what role does your spirituality and does your place of worship and your method of worship and all, what role does that play in dealing with the trial itself? Because you have people who will attend church, they go to church every Sunday, but their condition is not changing. You have people who go to the mosque every Sunday, but their conditions are not changing. And that's not to blame the church or the mosque.
No.
It's more on the individual,
Yeah.
because it's something that you are not implementing. It's some principles that you are hearing every week that you are failing to implement into your life.
Like I said, all on your belief, because God says if you first have to change yourself,
Right. He will not change the condition of people until they change themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have to make that change. You know what I mean? It's like, faith in works. You can have faith in something. You can sit there all day and have faith. That don't mean it's going to drop out of the sky for you.
Right.
But you got to have faith, which is a spirituality. Then you got works. You know what I mean? And they come together. It's like a positive and a negative.
And also, just something I always think about. Just because I go to the mosque and just certain things that I may hear Brother Abdul Halim Muhammad say, or even Minister Farrakhan say, in terms of one aspect of a trial is when you are attending or part of a particular organization or a group or a church or mosque or whatever it is, and you make the mistake of letting other people within the organization's imperfection drive you away.
Right.
Because you come there with one thought in mind, and then you see somebody else, or somebody else may say something that rub you the wrong way.
I'll give you the wrong knowledge.
And
you know what I'm saying?
blame them.
Some people are ignorant of the knowledge, man.
Without a doubt.
And turn people away, through ignorance, man.
Right. And just the attitude. But we can't make that mistake. It's like, okay, you know why you here. But you can't look at the individual that's participating and going through the same process that you're going through.
Yeah.
And if he or she falls short in some kind of way or says something out of pocket to you, then that makes you turn on the whole
you can't do
situation.
That.
Well, I believe that every human being know that there's a supreme being, no matter how you see it. You know, man. And
some don't. A lot of people. Hey, man.
A lot of people. I know a lot of people don't. But who are you when you're to yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the most important. When you're by yourself, who are you?
We have to have our focus properly directed. We have to have to understand, well, look, man, you come into this thing. It's like working at a job. You go into the job, and you're going to deal with all kind of people that don't like you, that you don't like. They're going to say something out of pocket, but you don't quit the job because you steady relying on that check to come in every week. So it's the same thing. It's not a check that's coming in, but it's your salvation that you getting. That's your payment. Yeah. If you can stay the course and make sure that you don't let, like I said, the imperfections of another individual knock you off the block.
And that's basically what your agenda going in as.
Yeah. And some people don't have an understanding of that. Well, man, look. You know how the hour always goes by fast, but before we get to wrapping up, I got a couple of announcements to make. There's a peace walk tomorrow. I didn't get the address. If y'all just check out my social media, check me out at the real K-Rino on Twitter. I'll get the information and y'all can see it up there. But there's a peace walk with Brother Derek Muhammad and Adrian Peterson, the NFL running back. That's going to be jumping off tomorrow. Also Saturday, June the 16th, at Muhammad Mosque 45 from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. There's a community carnival and expo. There's going to be free rides for the children, face painting, food. They're going to be playing cards, dominoes, chess. Big brother DJ X is going to be in the mix, and it's sponsored by the Muhammad University of Islam. So
where's that again?
It's going to be in the Mosque 45, 4443 Old Spanish Trail. And everybody's invited. We want the community to come out. All of the organizations from One Houston, One Hood, No More Bloodshed, ARC, NBuff, all of these organizations will be there in full force to support the community.
And no matter what your religious perspective is, man, y'all come out.
Come out, man, because we trying to save the hood, trying to save the community, man. Shout out to everybody that's on lock, and all of the units, man, that are able to hear us. And if you can't even hear us, we still put it in the universe, man. So
Stay
Ramadan,
tight till it get right.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan al-Kareem.
Once again, if y'all want to hit me up, y'all can always follow me at The Real K-Rino. Murder, give them yours real quick.
Yeah, Twitter is Murder1SPC86. Facebook is M1, that's ONE SPC Thomas. And Instagram is the same thing, Murder1SPC86.
Black Cat, go ahead.
Yeah, on Instagram, South Park Black Cat. Facebook, just put in CAFFRA, and I'm gonna pop up. You'll see me with the brim. You already know.
Kerm, let them know what's going down, my brother.
All right, on social media, it's top to bottom, man. It's all No Regret Media. Any one of them, you can just hit No Regret Media, and it's gonna pull up for you. And on personal, you can get me at Keisto. That's KEESTO on Instagram. That's the one I'm on, man.
Already, man. Well, again, man, I thank y'all for listening, man. Tune in every Friday, 11 p.m. You know, I know y'all got to get used to this 11 o'clock hour. You know, y'all going to the clubs and hanging out and all
Yeah, but they can hang 1 hour with us.
Yeah, you know, catch us on the way. And you can always catch the archive on KPFT, the Trader Truth interview, and probably the last 4 interviews we've done are on the archive right now. So if you miss it tonight, or if somebody you know missed it tonight, or if you're listening now and didn't catch it last week or week before, just go to kpft.org/archive. And y'all will be able to check out.
Or subscribe to the YouTube channel.
And definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel at The Real K-Rino, man. Well, The Real K-Rino, that's my YouTube channel, man, because I be doing all kind of weird and crazy stuff on my YouTube channel, man.
And we'll have that Trader Truth video up, man, this week coming up.
Without a doubt,
already.
Man. So once again, one love, man. K-Rino Radio. Shout out to my family, my brothers for holding it down with me, man. And we'll see y'all next week.
Coalition, baby.
With another monster. One love. Peace.